Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Mendenhall, and today we're going to go over the basics of how to dimension walls in Revit. Dimensioning in Revit is one of the easiest things that there is to do, but there are a few little tips and tricks that can make things a little bit easier, things that you may not know, so we're going to go over that today. And I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe if you find the content helpful. Obviously, today's video is more of a beginner video, but there's still things that hidden in the program that you may not know. So let's get into it. All right, here we are in Revit, and one of the very first things that we want to do is we're going to press DI, and that's going to start our dimension tool. And we're going to look up here on the options bar. You can see right now it's set to wall center line. We want to make sure that this is set to the faces of the core. And we have this option here to do entire walls, or you can do individual references. If we do entire walls, you can click on the wall itself, and it will pull that entire dimension outside of core. I'm going to hit escape and delete that. DI again to start. And I rarely use that tool to dimension entire walls. I always use individual references. Faces of core. And of course, the core itself is wood only. I make sure that everything outside of the core is my finish or my shear panel, which in this case we have the core, the shear panel, the foam, and the stucco. And if we were to select that wall, go to edit type, and then we're going to go to our structure, edit, and this shows you basically the anatomy of the wall. We have the exterior side up here at the top, and in order is stucco, rigid insulation, which is the foam board, sheathing, then we have our core here, and that's where our wood frame resides, and then of course our drywall to the inside. So then I'm going to go back to DI again to restart my dimension tool, and I'm just going to hover over each section of the building to grab that core. I do these all individually just for it's the easiest way that I've found to do it, the most accurate, and I have the most control by doing that. So I just go ahead and dimension everything individually. So this string that we're working on here is actually going to be my second string. This is the overall dimensions of each individual section of the building, so I'm going to put that there at 6 feet. The architectural standard is 4 feet off of the wall, and then 2 feet increments from there. Our very first string is going to be for the windows and doors will be called out on the first string. If I had interior walls such as I do on this side, that would be the second string. The overall increments or sections of wall would be then my third string, and my fourth string would be the overall of the building. So now I'm going to come here and I'm just going to dimension to our core, and of course core to the center. And of course, as you hover over the window, it's gonna snap to that center. I'm gonna do the same here. Whoops. So I missed that center when I clicked, so it finished the string. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull that up where I want it. As I said, it's going to be at 4 feet, and I'm just going to edit witness lines from that point to continue that. And to finish the string, I'm just going to drag this out over here anywhere and click, and that'll terminate the string of dimensions. So I set my grid up on 2-foot centers. I'll show you how to do that real quick. You can actually select your grid when it's on, and over here, as you select it, the option will come up in the properties to change this dimension. You can make it whatever you like. I draw in 2-foot increments for the sole fact that most building materials fall within 2-foot increments, whether it's shear panel or block being CMU if you're using a masonry foundation, the sheathing on the roof, the trusses fall in 2-foot increments. Everything works off of 2 feet pretty nicely. So I use 2-foot increments. You can't always do that, but most of the time I can make it happen. So you can see my building is snapped to the grid, and that also gives me an area to see where my dimensions are. So as I mentioned, 4 feet off the building, I don't even have to measure that. I can see in my grid where that's at. I have the second string out at 6 feet, and now I need to extend this, so I'm going to hit edit witness lines at the top, finish that out, and then my last string, as I said, we'll want to do the entire building. So we're going to do DI, snap to our core, and to our core over here, and then we're just going to drop that right there at about 2 feet on our grid. Another thing I want to show you is how to set your tolerance on your dimensions and also your text size. So a lot of times 330 seconds is a little bit big. A lot of people prefer 5/64, and I'm one of those people actually. You could do this one of 2 ways. If you had done an entire drawing and you had all your dimensions were at 330 seconds, one of the easy ways of changing that to 5/64 is to actually edit the dimension itself, rather than duplicating, creating a new one, and then selecting everything and putting it on your 5/64 style. You can just go edit type and rename the dimension itself, which I will do here, 5/64, and then change your text height, which is down here, and we're just going to type 5/64 and OK, and that will change your dimensions throughout your drawing, as long as you used the same dimension throughout your drawing. The other thing we want to do is we're going to go to Manage and Project Units. We're going to go here to Length, and we're going to set our rounding to the nearest 1/256th of an inch and click OK. And the reason for this is that we want our walls to land as precisely as possible. So say each one of these walls was off maybe only a 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch. It only takes that to happen 2 or 3 times. If it's a 1/16 of an inch, all of a sudden within 3 instances you can be off by 3/16, and it adds up. It can really kind of make things a mess for you. So by going to Manage and changing my project units, that will change the accuracy of all my dimensions throughout the project, as long as I use the use project settings in each one of my dimensions. So if I select this and go to my properties, and we'll go down to the bottom here, and here's our primary units. We have it set to use project settings. So I set those in in the project, if for some reason you have a different dimension style that you want to use, you can then modify this to whatever tolerance you want it to be. But for the most part, I keep it at 256th of an inch, and that way I know everything is very tight and true. So that's the basics of that. As I said before, whereas we have interior walls that are coming to the exterior wall, we would have that fourth dimension string out here, and basically you're just going to want to go all the way around the building and through the interior and make sure that you give dimensions to every single instance that somebody's going to want to know what those dimensions are. You just got to imagine that you're the framer out there laying things out. What's the information that you're gonna need to know here? For instance, we have this door, so we would go to the center of that, and there's where the 64ths come into play. You can see that it's we never want to see a dimension like this. That's not going to do anything but make some people mad out there. So we'll select the door. That's going to highlight the dimension, and we're just going to hit. We can see that this is only 7/64 away from being 7 foot, so we know that's going to be 7 feet. We're just going to type 7, enter, and that's going to tighten that up, and you can see that's dead center of the wall. And of course, this is where, as we go through our plan, where we start to tighten everything up. And as you can see, this wall here is off 1 foot 8 and 25/32. I would make that 1 foot 9, so I would just select that. You can grab this temporary dimension and just pull that over, and we'll just go 1 space 9 and enter, and there we go. That cleans that up. So as I had these the door highlighted, I'm going to do this bathroom door here, so you can see that I have a dimension on either side of my door coming from the wall to the door, which is the dimensions that I want to see. And I have this set up in Revit. Out of the box, Revit comes with it takes that dimension to the center. I don't particularly like that too much. So the way that I set this up is you go to Manage, Additional Settings, and we're going to come here to Annotations, Temporary Dimensions. And so you can see that I have my walls are set up to faces of core here also, so that when you click on a wall, it's gonna do a temporary dimension to the core, and then doors and windows to the openings. So click OK, and that's what gives us this cool little dimension here. And you can see that 2 1/4 inches on one side, 3 3/4 on the other. I want that to be 3 inches on either side, so I'm going to go 0 space 3, enter, and that door is centered. And I'm going to show you what a finished dimensioned drawing should look like. Alright, here's a custom home that I designed a little while back. It's actually being built right now, and it shouldn't be there. Thing that you want to make sure of is that you have dimensions to pretty much everything. Just for fun, this is what that house ended up looking like. This is Enscape, actually, that I use for rendering. And take you around the back here. This was before I did the render itself. Pretty cool though. Love Enscape, one of my most favorite programs to work with. And here's the final render that I did, the front obviously, and here's the back of that house, and that's it. I appreciate you guys watching if you made it through this far, and please let me know if you have any questions. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.